So the internet is, again, extremely dynamic as a promotional vehicle or tool. And one of its greatest values is its overt and subtle techniques and applications for the purpose of garnering new customers, or customer acquisition. What are some of these tools? This is a great little image from your textbook. But email promotions, online advertising, events and public relations, viral marketing, these are all ways that you can use the web for, e-marketing for, to garner new customers. Effectively, there are three kinds of online advertising: display or banner ads, which you're familiar with. So if you log into MSN, for example, there'll be banner ads at the top. There's search ads that are ads that are associated with your whatever you happen to be viewing on the line at the time. So if you're searching for, you're clicking on ads for insurance for your car, or better yet, if you click on, if you're searching for automobiles, you'll get pop-up ads for related to that search, like for insurance, let's say. And then the third kinds of ads are ads that are on social and mobile networks, which are generally related to, they could be related to where you are geographically if you allow that sort of activity on your particular instrument, like your cell phone. Or they could be related to the group, if it's social media that you're interacting with, because very often the demographics of those groups are similar, or the political bents are similar, and so you'll get certain ads as a consequence of the groups that you're affiliating with. And interestingly, although a lot of money is being spent on social advertising or e-marketing, the traditional channels still dominate. But that is obviously changing. Now, what are some of the best practices associated with e-marketing? Well, let's say whether it's designing an ad or an ad campaign, or if it's a website, the keep it simple, stupid rule still applies. You also don't want to try to trick users. You want to identify your brand very early in your discussions, because people don't stay interested for very long. You know, it's hard to a web user, and so you want to get to it really quickly, and not. This was learned early on. You know, it used to be you logged on to certain websites and there was all kind of trick stuff going on, fancy graphics and that sort of thing, and designers learned very quickly that people don't have a lot of patience for that sort of thing. So keep it simple, identify your brand early, and get to what you're saying, what your value proposition is. Now this this particular slide refers to sort of the dimensions of design applications on a website itself. And so normally when you work with these templates and running a website, you're working with different dimensions and your standardized dimensions in your layout. You just can't do helter-skelter. You kind of got to operate within certain allowable dimensions, and so you want to be aware of those dimensions, whether you're laying out your website per se or whether you're allowing a certain amount of space for particular ads. I'll say something really quick about third-party networks. These are particularly, or middlemen, these are particularly important in social networks on sites like Facebook, where a middleman will go in. They'll be working for, say, a company like Procter and Gamble, and Procter and Gamble will say, we're coming out with a certain kind of lotion aimed at women between the ages of 35 and 45 that have a child still living at home and have a household income of between $50,000 and $75,000 a year. This is the demographic that we're going to target this particular product to, and we want as many of them as we can based on the data in Facebook that would identify this target market. And so normally Procter and Gamble themselves would not perform that analysis. They'd hire a third party to go in and identify as many people on Facebook that fit that profile as possible. Procter and Gamble would pay by the number that is actually delivered, let's say $2 per person identified, and then Procter and Gamble would either construct the ads or they'd hire yet another middle person to do the ad. That's typically the way it works. Now, the example that I just gave identifies why the internet is so effective, that it allows people to identify businesses or organizations to identify very specific target markets or audiences where the chance of getting some kind of positive response from your ultimate promotion increases considerably. Now, there's many different kinds of targeting that your text talks about. Demographic, behavioral, contextual, channel. Channel would be like, is it a social media channel? Is it a YouTube channel? Is it something like that? Or even email. You can make these geographic. There are, going back to my Procter & Gamble example of women in a certain demographic, you could also say, I want to know, I want that profile, but I want to look at it within the greater northeast part of the United States, or I want to look at it in Texas because I want to test market it before I introduce it to the entire country. So you can make it geographic. So which of those is best? Well, it really depends on your product and your message, and again, what your intent is. All of them have their uses, and it really depends on, again, the particular promotion that you're doing. Although for the most part, behavioral is generally the best. So as far as what's behavioral, well, one of the things it could be is what are they doing on the web, and what are they looking at? an interesting factoid, you probably know this, but not, is that every search you've ever done on Google has been saved. Every single solitary thing you've ever searched for has been saved. Every site you've ever visited is saved, and from that they identify an IP profile of you. And even if you, your wife, your kids each use the same computer, so the same IP address, because of what you search, they can tell that, let's say, there's 4 different individuals identified with that IP address, and you don't have to click on very many items before they've identified which is you, and they start throwing up ads for either you or your wife or your kids, whatever. And so they're able to, and then the predictive models, that's kind of the Amazon, and I'm trying to think of the radio, the music one. Anyway, it's the classic, if you like this, then you'll like that. So Amazon kind of started it. Actually, the porn industry was the first one to use it. If you like this kind of porno, you'll probably like that kind of porno. They were the first one to do it. Then Jeff Bezos and others saw other applications within the marketplace, and so Amazon started constructing profiles of people, and it was, if you like this book or this author, you'll probably like this. Or if it's music, if you like this artist, you'll probably like this artist. So social networks are a really fertile place for getting customer acquisition for a couple of different reasons. Again, you can identify groups that have common interests, and so if they're a fit for a particular product or service, you can go to these groups, and your chances of success, if there's a fit in promoting your particular product or service, are expanded considerably. Now there are other traditional ways, events, publicity, etc., viral marketing, that are also good ways to garner customers that leverage the internet or channels outside the internet. Affiliate marketing is when you identify your product or service on sites with related products. So going back to, you might be the Ford Motor site, and you would do pop-ups, let's say, for your insurance company on that Ford Motor site. And the converse could be true. If they go to a site looking for auto insurance, then Ford Motor would have ads that pop up on that. Just like with newspapers, you can get a preferred placement on a particular site, which isn't done so much anymore because it's not as effective as constructing profiles of particular target markets. And in summary, there's a lot of different tools for the web. There's display ads, that sort of thing. Standard ad formats. And again, that goes back to that chart I showed you, where there's different sizes in a template around which you can construct features of your website or ads themselves. You can do really precision targeting. It's a great feature of the web. And there are some ethical issues obviously around that, around behavioral, understanding people's behavior so much that you can predict what it is they're going to do. So that is it for this, and I'll catch you on Chapter 7.